Hey, besties and bosses. Happy New Year, everyone. I don't think I've been in live this new year yet, and I think we have some new people in the group, so welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If we haven't connected yet, my name's Kim Arget-Singer, and this is my space here, and I'm a success and mindset business coach for ambitious solopreneurs, creatives, dreamers, and I'm so happy to have you all here. So last week, we talked a little bit, I shared some of my end of the year ritual, how I like to close out the end of the year and bring in the new year. And today I wanted to dive a little bit more into, hey, who's live with me? Thanks for being here. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more about hey, Carla, nice to have you here. Happy New Year. So I wanted to talk today a little bit more about the mindset that can go into creating those goals, creating those resolutions for the new year that can really help support us and to help us to set more powerful goals and resolutions for the new year. So some of you know I shared this last week that the day after Christmas, my family and I have this 5K race. We're in upstate New York and we go out into the absolute cold to have this race. And I think this year was around 17 degrees with the wind chill factor. And I was kind of hoping we wouldn't do it. But we're a very competitive bunch, so we went out there for this race. And at about 1.5 miles into the race, I realized I was looking behind my shoulder. I kept looking behind me to see who was catching up with me, who was behind me. And every time I did this, I wasn't looking to where I wanted to go. Hey, Happy New Year. I was starting to slip a little bit and lose my footing because, of course, the roads hadn't been de-iced yet and it was quite slippery. I was getting in my head and getting a little psyched out because I was worried about who was behind me. I was retracing and replaying what I had just done. So at this 1.5 mile marker, I made a conscious choice that I was not going to look back anymore. And I was going to turn around, face forward, and just pay attention to what was in front of me. Of course, what was in front of me was my cousin's husband, who always beats me on the race, and he was just looking forward. So I made this decision. I'm running at about 1/4 the mile in. I wanted to turn around because, as I'm sure you know, whenever we tell ourselves not to do something, all we can think about is exactly that thing. So, and this is a true story, this is exactly what I did on the race. So at this point in the mile, I'm on this long stretch that is open to the wind. It's a little bit desolate, and I needed to find a way to keep going because we have a car that loops around and picks up anyone who just wants to call it quits. And so I decided at this point that I was going to start thinking about the finish line. And I imagine myself running really fast, feeling really light, feeling warm, feeling full of energy, and crossing that finish line with a big smile on my face. And I kept this in my mind for the remainder of the race until that was me crossing the finish line, feeling great with that smile on my face. And no, I didn't beat my cousin, and I didn't beat any records, but I did get to where I wanted to go, and I did get out of the cold. And the whole time while I was doing this, it just made me think about the mindset that so many of us, I think, have when we set our goals, when we set our resolutions, when we set our intentions. It made me wonder how many of us are creating dreams, are setting these goals while we're constantly looking behind us to see what's back there, to see what's going to catch up with us, to see what might be behind us. I have this theory that it isn't because of capabilities or lack of capabilities or lack of willpower that we don't reach our goals or that we don't reach our dreams. What I think happens is that most of us fall short of our dreams or fall short of our goals because we're creating them and we're going after them while we're constantly looking back over our shoulder to see what's behind us, and we're looking back at a previous identity of ourselves. So to create a business we want, to create a life we want. Hello and Happy New Year, Jen. And hey, Kristen, I just realized you're watching too. I'm talking all about the mindset behind creating these goals and resolutions for the new year, which I think are so important, but I think this mindset piece is a really important piece. So many of us, and this is how we're wired, this is normal, this is me too, this isn't me saying that anyone is doing this wrong, but most of us, as we create these goals, as we set these goals and these dreams, we're doing these based on memories from the past. We are looking backwards. In order to create something different, in order to create something new, in order to create something we want, we have to turn our head around and look forward and project ourselves into the future. I'm so into identity stuff right now, Kristen says. Identity stuff, Kristen, I really think it is it is the crux of everything we do. It's so, so, so important, and it's not easy to shift, but shifting that identity that is the basis for all of our actions. That's the basis for not only the actions we take, but just the thoughts we have and those goals we're creating. And I think I was talking about a race I had with my family. I think what a lot of us are doing is we're making these goals from looking backwards. In order for us to all get to where we want to go, in order for me on that race to cross the finish line, we have to look not only forward, but we have to project ourselves into the future and project ourselves into a new identity. So hear me out with this. I'm going to explain this a little bit, and I'll also share some of the science behind this, because there's some cool stuff that happens in our brain when this happens. So what we usually do is we sit down and make our goals, and we're basing these on memories from the past. Those are those repeated stories, those fears, those things that we have on autoplay in our mind. And this usually means that we're creating goals they're based on fears. They're based on limiting beliefs. So while we might make a goal that feels like it's in line with what we want, it might be a watered down version, or it might be pulling back a little bit because we're trying to protect ourselves. And again, this is completely normal. We are wired this way. All of our brains are wired to have these fears to protect us. So this is a very, very, very normal thing. The other thing that happens when we create goals from this mindset or from this space is we are limiting ourselves based on the possibilities that have already happened. So based on what we've already seen or experienced, which makes it really hard to create something new, because we tend to then just repeat those patterns or repeat those habits, which is why we often find ourselves stuck in similar relationships or stuck in our business and not moving forward, or constantly having the same fight with our significant other, because we are repeatedly taking this past identity, taking those past fears, and we're just laying down more of the same. Sometimes the other thing we do is we will look back and we'll remember a failure that we had, and we'll use that to inform a goal of ours. So we'll think, well, shit, it didn't work out in the past. Why would it work out now? And even if we're not doing this consciously, this is happening on a subconscious level. And then this is affecting those goals we're having. Hey, Jennifer. So this will then affect those goals that we make. So in order to shift this and to create something new, what we want to do instead is to look forward again, point forward, and to project ourselves into an ideal future version of ourselves. So a version of ourselves that doesn't exist yet. And so that's what I was doing on the race. I was projecting myself into the future. And when we do this, we create a version of ourselves that we can chase, a version of ourselves we can continually chase and catch up with and become, and then create a new future version of ourselves and chase and catch up with. And when we do this, we start to create goals that will allow us to shift and move forward and to create those things we want. This is how we create something new. Now, the really cool thing is when we're doing this, hey, Belinda, when we're doing this, a couple really cool things are happening in our mind. And I like to geek out about this. I hope you guys like this stuff too. So when we take the time to get really clear on our future ideal self, this new person we want to be, how we want to show up, when we create goals from this space, and we take some time to visualize this and get this in our mind, we create new memories in our mind. So when we visualize, our brain can't tell the difference between real and perceived events. So as we're doing this, we're creating and laying down new memories in our mind. So earlier I was talking about how most of us are creating these goals and living our life based on memories of the past. This is how our brain works. This is normal. I do it. We all do it. This isn't like anything weird. When we're visualizing this ideal future, we're getting into that part of our brain and we're creating some new memories. So we can start to live through those memories to create our life instead of some of those old tapes. Because the truth is, as much as we want to get rid of those tapes, they're not necessarily going to go away. Just like I was trying not to think about looking backwards, we tend to just think more about what we tell ourselves not to think about. So instead of just saying, don't think that, or just think positive, don't think bad thoughts, it's more empowering to completely create a new idea, a new identity, a new thought, and to put that into our mind. Let me know if this is all making sense to you guys. The other thing that happens in our brain when we're doing this, which I just love this, I get so excited about this, we tap into a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. And this part of our brain, it's unique to humans. This is something other animals don't have. And this is like the boss of our brain. It's like the executive of our brain, and it tells us what to do. And it's also where future planning, Jennifer says, makes a lot of sense. Awesome, good. So this part of our brain is also where planning and future connection. Oh, okay, I'm back. When we tap into this part of our brain, so when we are thinking about this future version of ourselves, we're tapping into the prefrontal cortex. which is awesome because this is the part of our brain that dictates things. But the other thing that's cool is when we're in this part of our brain, it starts to pull some blood away from that reptilian part of our brain. And that reptilian part of our brain is where fear hangs out. It's where that fight or flight response hangs out. It's where that looking over our shoulder to see who might come behind us and catch up with us, or what thing from the past might bite us in the ass, is hanging out. So while we're creating those new memories, we're also pulling some focus out of that part of our brain that can really hold us back and keep us stuck. Again, this is all normal, having those fears. We wouldn't be alive today if we didn't have them. This is a really cool way to shift out of some of those fears without having to like go in there and dig them and heal them or solve them or anything like that. So this year, this week, what I'd really love to invite all of you to do and encourage you to do is, Jennifer says, this is so true, I have so many bad memories and almost all my goals are from my fears. Jennifer, this is, I mean, I would be lying if I said that wasn't the same for me as well. This is the case for all of us, and I definitely have a shit ton of bad memories, and it's so normal. So you're completely normal. I would love to invite you to try some of this future envisioning of yourself and creating some of that ideal future self, because it can be a really powerful way to shift out of that and to create some new goals that aren't based on those fears. And I will share from my personal experience, it has helped me in so many ways to create shifts in my life and to change parts of my life. I am not the same person, and I don't have the same identity I had just a few years ago. And a lot of it is based on this and just the mindset work in general. So completely normal, just so you know. But my invitation to all of you is, yes, make goals this year. Goals are so important. Goals are powerful. I heart goals. I'm not going to stop talking about goals. But underneath those goals, I'd really love to invite you to spend some time on this mindset piece and to really spend some time getting clear on who is your ideal future self. Who is this person? Who is that person you want to be, not now, but in the future? Who is that person you can continue to chase to the finish line? And then after you reach that finish line, chase that version of yourself some more. Because when we do this, we're constantly moving forward and we're stepping into that version of ourselves. And then we can constantly move forward and step into that next version of ourselves. So I'd really love to invite you to do that. And if you feel empowered to do so, to also spend some time in visualization, really visualizing and feeling that part of yourself. Who are you? How do you show up? What do you think? What do you do? And I'd also love to encourage you, the decisions you're making, try to make decisions from that place, that ideal future self. What decisions would she make, or he, if there's any guys watching? What goals would that future version of yourself make? How would that future version of yourself live? And day by day, when you start to think from this space, you'll start to see yourself step into that. And I would love to hear, if you try this, I would love to hear if this is resonating. Let's see, Kristen says, you gave me a great idea to use when goal setting with my husband for next week. Oh, yay, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm happy this resonates. And yeah, this is something I'll share with my boyfriend as well. We talk a lot about this in our relationship as well. I think it can be really powerful there, because I will be open and share here. We are a normal couple. We have fights sometimes, and we were finding ourselves getting into a pattern, and to shift out of that pattern, we both had to think about ourselves and also our ideal relationship and how we wanted that to be and what we wanted to do different, because otherwise we just have more of the same and our life just becomes a bit of a wash, rinse, repeat. So to break those patterns, this can be really powerful. So that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for commenting, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with me. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts around this, please feel free to leave them below. If you have any questions now, I'll answer them. If you're watching on the replay, you can leave them as well, and I will come back and answer them. I hope this inspires you to try something different. I'm so happy that you love this, Carla, and thanks for being here. And I'm wishing you and your future self your version of success. This is going to be an amazing year for everyone, and I'm just so grateful to have you here. So wishing you all lots of love.